As the Beatles once sang, Christmas time is here again. And with it, we can watch the Thomas episodes that are Christmas themed. Most of these episodes are absolute bangers. There's nothing I love more on Christmas Eve than watching the Christmas episodes, and today, I'm gonna tell you what is and why it's my favourite Christmas episode. Which one is that, you ask? Well, my favourite Christmas episode of Thomas and Friends is Terence Breaks the Ice. Before I explain why I love this episode, here's the plot. Terence is helping the woodsman cut down Christmas trees. He and Thomas meet up and reflect on their first encounter. Later that day, the Fat Controller realises he forgot to mention to pick up the big tree for the Earl. So Thomas goes back and tells Terence. However, Terence is big-headed and goes over the frozen pond, but part of it cracks and breaks as he travels back over. Thomas ends up rescuing Terence before the tractor falls in. First of all, I love its story. It's simple, yes, but it really builds up the tension. The whole idea and Terence's ice issue actually feels like a genuine idea. An idea that I think could be pulled out of season 5 actually. Let's talk about Terence. In the flashback of their first meeting, Terence says you have to be sensible if you want to stay safe, setting up him being a hypocrite when he ignores what he says. Speaking of which, before the flashback, when Thomas praises Terence with his caterpillars, look at Terence. Look at Terence here. He's shown a smug face, so that little detail really helps advance the story and what goes on in Terence's mind when he decides to be careless. Unlucky Tug said in his Hidden CGI Gems vid that people said Terence is out of character, and he pointed out that Terence was a blank slate to begin with, and I have to agree with him there. His debut episode was really about Thomas, and then he just showed up if need be, like in Edward, Trevor and the Really Useful Party and Thomas's Christmas Party. But also he boasted in the Railway series story Toby Takes the Road. So if that little part does back up the reason why Terence was overconfident in the first place. The episode is called Terence Breaks the Ice after all, not Thomas, Terence and the Ice. Speaking of Thomas, I really love his role in this episode. I love the continuity from the past and how he is great friends with Terence and shows great respect for him when he praises him. Also, when Terence runs into his own trouble, Thomas doesn't hesitate to rescue him. He is quick to act. Heck, when Farmer Finley says to go and get help, Thomas points out that'll be too long. Love that bit. Also, Terence helps Thomas out during their early days. It's like Thomas always owed Terence one, and he certainly did that. Terence would possibly be a goner had it not been for Thomas. But the one thing I love about this episode is it feels like a sequel. Now, Unlucky Tug said the episode is a sequel to the season 1 episode, and I've actually viewed this episode the way ever since I first watched it. No joke, I actually did. For starters, the only engine who appeared in Thomas, Terence in the Snow was Thomas. In Terence Breaks the Ice, Thomas is the only engine here. In Thomas, Terence in the Snow, Thomas is big-headed and gets stuck. In Terence Breaks the Ice, Terence gets big-headed and runs into trouble in season 5 style. In Thomas, Terence in the Snow, Terence rescues Thomas, and in Terence Breaks the Ice, Thomas rescues Terence, and both are even. So much in this episode shows that Terence Breaks the Ice is a sequel to Thomas, Terence and the Snow, the latter of from season 1, the very first season. The former is in season 21, the last Brenner era season and the last true Thomas season, and with Brother on the way, I had a feeling they decided to honour the classic series, and I think they couldn't have picked a better episode for this one to happen, and that is why Terence Breaks the Ice is my favourite Christmas episode. Of course, there are loads of other fantastic Christmas episodes I do recommend. Here on the video now is the list of episodes I do recommend watching. Now, before I end this video, I want to apologise that I didn't make a Christmas original story, but I figured for this video, with my 10-year anniversary coming to a close, I thought I'd end this video using my own voice. I want to thank everyone for tuning in for my 10th anniversary on YouTube. I have really enjoyed the content I brought out this year. I've got more planned for the new year, but for now, I want to say Merry Christmas everyone and a Happy New Year from Blue Engine 99.